Are you ready for something like this? Or should we start step one and learn the ropes? Please subscribe, like, and share.
Hello, good evening, good day, good morning from whatever part of this crazy planet we're at or you're at. Welcome again. This is Ben. As you can tell, it's nighttime here. It's about 9 o'clock at night. But I am filming and I got the fan going and I finally found a way to clear my video of unwanted background noise. I hope you guys notice it. I got a program that I could pretty much basically filter out all the background noise. So here we are. I hope it works. First up, here we go. I want to talk about the small block Ford, the 302 in particular. And I know a lot of you guys do engine swap, whatever, to JZ or whatever, on your Fox body or early Mustang. That whatever floats your boat, I'm cool with that. But anyway, let me just put some finer points in regards to the 302 Ford. So we do not discount and just automatically dump the engine and go with a 351. Or if you're on the budget, this might be of great help to you in regards to going as fast as you can for the least amount of money. Here we go. I have a friend that I've met here on Facebook through the years now, John Boschma. I think that's the way you say the name because it's like Bosch spark plugs and M.A. Boschma. Anyway, him and I have been talking for a long time and we have a lot in common. He likes a small block horse. I do too. Plus I like the LS and the first generation or the classic small block Chevy, as well as, of course, the small block Fords, 351 as well. But let me just highlight that, especially on a budget, you have really limited, resources to buy a Dart block or a Sportsman block or a Ford Motorsport. Let's not discount the 302. As I can show you, John here has successfully built a very strong running deep 9-second NA 302 block. And I'll show you a little bit of the Mexican block, the 302 block, the 289 block, where the difference are. First thing, what he has done, and I've been saying all along as well, when you run an engine plate, front and rear, you help the block from having a tendency to split itself on the middle. First off, you got to look at the front of the block. The torque side of the block is usually the driver's side. That's the one that wants to go up, and the motor mount on the right side gets compressed. That's why if you notice, you always break the left side motor mount. Seldom, I never heard of. Usually the passenger side motor mount gets squashed because the load there is coming down this way, and then the one on the driver's side wants to come up. Now, when you look at the 302 and the okay, what I'll show you here is a 289 block. Excuse me, it's an old thing here. It's rusted and everything. But look at the ribbing on the motor mount boss. When you look at the 302 HO, it's very thin. They're scalloped. I guess it's their way of trying to basically save weight. All right, because weight is mileage, so forth and so on. They're trying to get efficient as best as they could for the given amount of weight on the car. When you look at this thing, The left side motor mount has its scallop, not enough material. And you look at this other side on the 289, or I think the early 302 is the same way. It's got a lot more meat right around the freeze plug area. It's thick. That's material, that's strength. You don't have that with this HO. So that's one.
Let us take a close look at the motor mount area of an old 302 and the new HO. Okay, excuse the rust. This is a HO block. Look how it's scalloped here above the freeze plug. You see the rise up there? Same thing there. All right. So there's scalloping done here, I guess to save weight. All right. Well, look at the old school 289 or the 302 early. The scallop's just right there, but there's a lot of mass right around. There's a lot of mass right around the bolt right here. A lot of mass compared to here. It's scallop. All right. That's where you start to see the strength. So same diameter hole for the freeze plug, but you got a lot more meat right there, which your scallop right here. All right. So that is weak, not so here. Just look at that. So you got a lot more strength there on the side of your block, and this is basically the driver's side that we're looking at that we know is very weak. All right, look at that, and look at that. I wish I could have had a clean block to illustrate, but this is what I got.
And also, like I've always stated, the front of the block, you have this galley, this oil galley, straight across from the oil pressure sensor that goes directly above the number one main cap bolt. Again, on the driver's side. I had to look at my block. I'm getting old, man. I'm starting to forget. It is thin there. When you look at the area, the casting is very thin. It's a little bit thicker than 351. But having those two bolt mains with an intersecting oil galley doesn't help it. Also, now we're looking at the stock block. Look how thin this is. All right? Very thin. And here's the deadly number one bolt goes there. Pretty much stops right about there. Very, very weak. All right? So when you have the 1-5 firing order, 1-5 or 1-5, it loads up the front main cap. It cracks here first, there, all through the valley, lifter valley. Remember, usually when you're a small block Ford, when you look underneath there and the number 2 cam bearing slid out, watch right up front here. It's probably crap. All right? So there you go. Very, very bad design. But it is what it is. They didn't expect us to be making 600 horse or maybe slightly more with these things. Now you're looking at a dart block. This one here is the culprit I'm talking about. But look at all these extra beef. All right? For this bolt, which is a troublesome one, and also that bolt. It's thick. You got a lot of meat here. Whereas the production doesn't have that. Even though you have this drill passage directly above the front main cap, you still got a lot of support right here, which is not there with the factory block. So remember that, guys. Very important. I have an old friend who's a diehard Ford racer for many, many years, and a little bit older than I. And when I said about the firing order, 1-5 hits the front main cap big time. One pulse from the number 1 to number 5, it loads the main cap. So I like to spread the firing order to 1-3, okay, so that it doesn't do that. it helps lessen the load on the front. 7/8 on the back is transfer, but that's okay. You have the bell housing area. There's a lot more meat there. Okay, you don't have this cavity for the timing chain and all that, and of course the oil galley that goes from the oil pressure gauge. That by itself makes it weak. So what John does, he's got an HO block. He has run very fast, like I said, deep in the nines, mid nines basically. Here's a quick look at John's car. That's the front plate you can see, obviously. I can't hardly see the mid plate, but it's there. The headers on the driver's side and the passenger side. We're looking at the front suspension, the rear suspension, and the car when they're assembling it. Very, very impressive car, you know. And if you think this out correctly, you're going to have a pretty good combination. With the front engine plate, you take the load off the left side motor mount because now you put it on the front plate and it keeps it from splitting out because remember, there's the crank, all right? When the engine torques, it pulls this way and it pushes down. Plus the rotation of the crank, it wants to split the block this way. When you have the front plate, it ties them together, gives it strength. You're not relying on the left side motor mount from trying to lift through a torque twist and load up the front engine mount, left front engine mount, and split the block. So now you put, let's say you still have the mount in the front, and then you put an engine plate. Why not? Okay? Then again, the rear engine plate is another addition. When you have the engine plate, when you look at these two big dowels on the back, don't make it loose. If it's tight before you shove the plate in there, why not? Keep it tight. And then all the bolts around, ties them all together. Okay? And it has a tendency to keep when the edge is torquing this way. All right? That's why when you see the car take off, you see the left front tire come up. If you have a stock type suspension, that left front motor mount is loaded up. Let's say you eliminated the front mount. You have the front engine plate. Okay, you're good. And then now you have the rear engine plate that holds it on the back with those big dowels and then a tight-fitting bell housing bolt. The other 4 or 6, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The other 6 bolts, all right, on the engine plate. Keep it tight. With the big dowel, keep it tight. Don't, machine it out or hone it just to make it so you can shove the plate in easier. That's not the point. You want it as tight fitting as possible, okay, so that it really anchors it together. Now, when you have the rear engine plate and the front engine plate, it keeps the whole block boxed in from the torque of the engine. Or the biggest culprit is a doggone drive shaft. When the car takes off, the drive shaft is going this way to turn the ring and pinion. Guess what happens? The left rear comes down, the right rear comes up. In the process, this twisting motion is transferred to the front through your motor mount. The motor mount without the front and rear engine plate is punished. No wonder the block split. With the firing order, no wonder the block splits. Now, some people will say, oh, you don't need the engine plate on the back because the motor mount is there. The motor mount doesn't do anything. It's just sitting there holding the weight of the transmission. It doesn't stop it from twisting. If you look at the transmission, if the block twists, all right, it torques this way because when you have a rubber motor mount, it has a certain amount of give. Guess what it does too? On the rear of the transmission mount, it lifts because it's also rubber. So it also does that and loads up the front left motor mount. The right side's going along for the right. Okay? It's just carrying the weight. When it torques, the right motor mount carries the weight. No stress. The left wants to split and break the block in half. So now you have the front engine plate, a tight mid plate or block plate on the back. There's really no need to put a solid mount on the rear. It's up to you if you want to put a solid mount in the transmission. It's just going to be transferring more vibration on it. But hey, whatever floats your boat, I'm cool with that. So anyway, this set, let's talk about the weight. The 302, I think, is about like 105 or 110 pounds bare with the main caps. And I've seen somebody weigh a small block LS for you people doing LS swap. It's like 200. They weighed it with no main cap. Why would you weigh a block with no main cap? I've seen 2 sites where they said they had no main cap. Why? You can never run a block without a main cap. It goes with it. So let's just say the 302 HO or early style between 110 to maybe 120 pounds. Right? The LS is like 200 and change. 215, 210. That's another 100 pounds more. And guess what the big block Chevy? What I remember, I think it's like 220 pounds for the big block Chevy. Wow. That's why when I did my first LS years ago, and the guy dropped off the block, and I said, oh, okay, late model, you know, and I grabbed it to move it, okay, to one side of my shop. When I picked it up, I go, holy cow, this thing is heavy. I couldn't believe it. So now I think the big block Chevy, not the aluminum block, and the cast iron LS, that's 200 and change. That's 100 pounds on the nose. Granted, you have a 5.3, and then you have a 302. Okay, that's 5.0. Or even if you have a stroker, 347. Okay, there's still 100 pounds you're gonna have to compensate for. So whatever you build the 302, you stroked it, and then you build a 5.3 without stroking it, which is a possibility. I know several people that go to the junkyard, buy a LS 5.3, and they put it on and blow it up. They got another one. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, I'm sure some of the Ford guys do the same thing, but the LS are more plentiful because they've been in production as of late compared to the 302s. They stopped in 93, I think. Yeah, 93 or 95. Yeah, but anyway, there you go. You have weight consideration to account for. As you well know, you can have 50 horsepower on a guy, but if you're carrying 100 pounds more weight, I think that's going to be a detriment. All right? None of that nose heavy. So for you road racers, come and think of it. All right? When you ride around the block with no hood, hey, pretty good. You put your hood on, that's like only what, 40, 50 pounds? Hardly. You feel the weight. You got 100 pounds. Weight is important when you're trying to go fast. So that's one to consider. All right? I'm trying to sell you here, just don't dump your 302. You can still do like John here has done, and Erwin has done the same thing. Excuse me. And my old buddy, Hector de los Santos, same doggone thing. He went 930 on a nitrous small block, mild combination. Cast iron block, cast iron head. Mexican block, as far as I remember. Yeah, Mexican block. Those got a lot more meat around. At the same time, you can tell the Mexican block's got those 2 divots, or you call nipple, the block, or protrusions. Okay? And they have a lot more mass. The main caps is a little thicker as opposed to a 302. So, you know, just don't dump your 302 and get rid of it. Now you have to find a different handler. You have to find a different intake, so forth and so on. Okay? Now, when you have this doggone 302, just don't dump it. Hey, look, when you guys try to do a project, start small. Learn the ropes. Just don't go in there, just like this guy I saw before. He bought a dart block, 4-bolt main, and then he put a cast crank. Like, putting a billet door in a doggone wood house. It doesn't work that way. All right? For 500 horsepower, even 600 horsepower, the HO block, when you put the plate and you put the front and rear plate, okay, you can get very close to that. NA. I've done supercharged combination. All right, 640, 650 at the back wheel on a HO block. Okay, and boosting not very high. And I have another one here coming up soon. The owner of that HO made 640, 650 at the back wheel. So you add 125, 150 on top of that. Guess what? 650, 750. It's about 800 horsepower. And the flywheel, it's an HO block. If you have the front and rear plate, guess what? You probably won't have any problem. But when you detonate these engines, now you're like living in a glass house. But pretty much any engine, especially with supercharged, when you detonate, beds are up. Anything can happen. Even if you have one of those expensive blocks, it will not. I've seen 4-bolt main block that caps were bouncing. You see the transfer of metal between the crank saddle and the doggone main cap. It happens. So think about this, guys. Just don't jump and dump that, especially you guys, those newbies. Start with a 302, all right? If you want to get somewhat serious, if you're not running as fast as John or Hector or Erwin, I suggest you just run the stock motor mount on the front, whatever, all right, or a solid mount. But when you start hauling butt, just like this 3 guys I just pointed at, you better start thinking about plating the front and rear or mid plate. That is like insurance. Just think about it, right? Keeps it all tied in together. There's not. Remember when the car's launching, the drive shaft is twisting, whereas coming down on the driver's side, coming up on the right side. Guess what? All the load is on that left motor mount. No wonder they split up. All right? Plus the 1.5 firing order, and then you launch the thing. Whew, good grief. Now, even if you don't have the 1.5 firing order, but you have the engine plate and the mid plate, I think it's pretty good. But I suggest you do those 2 while you're at it anyway. Before I sign off, sincere thanks to John Boschma for giving me an insight to his engine combination. Let me just rehash what he has. HO block, and he's got aftermarket rods. Okay? He, like I've done also through the years, ran the 28-ounce stock crank. Got a lot more meat. The 50-ounce one threw the weight on the outside flex plate and dampener. Just less in the middle. Okay? So, I should weigh a stock 302 HO as opposed to an old 289 or 302. But from what I can gather, there should be a little bit more mass or meat on the 302 crank or early style. Now, if you think about it, they could take a lot of punishment because they're nodular iron. And then we talk about people running stock rods. I've never, if it's assembled correctly, all right, I've never, within reason, of course, broke a stock rod and stock crank. But when you're trying to squeeze 400 shot on a stock crank rod, oh yeah, of course. But within reason, okay? And I know a lot of people with supercharged HOs making a lot of power. 500, 450, 500 horse, no problem. That means they're making over 600 to 650 at the flywheel. Supercharged or a little bit of nitrous. I would say the rod will break first before the doggone rod, okay? Because you got a brooch cut right there at the shoulder. Not like the old school 289 or 302 or 351, in fact, with a football style connecting rod around the rod bolt. They're a lot stronger. Now, coming back to John, like I said, he's running the early style 302 crank. but he opted. His son ran the stock run, never broke him also, ran very hard. All right, this guy's a 10-second easy. Once you have set the clearances on it and you're reasonable with your timing and you got a little bit of compression, okay, you're not winging the engine as hard. A lot of the stock pieces will work. Okay, and again, John here switched to an aftermarket connecting rod just to be safe because he's got 12-to-1. If I would suggest, I'm not going to be specific with this cab combination. Minimum, I would say 250. All right, 253 or maybe 255. And again, like he did, or any, clear thinking engine builder, flow test the head. Flow test the head and then see where it signs off. If it signs off with 650, don't put 750 on there. If it signs off with 680, maybe put 700 in there. All right? So I would suggest look at where your heads sign off at and then make the camshaft for that. I'm not going to tell you right off the get-go, put 750 in because I don't know where your heads are at. Okay? Do you have an Edelbrock, DFS, whatever? Flow test it. Again, actually what you have, flow test that. I've seen some manufacturers out there, they say this flows this much, not even close. So there you go. Flow test it and be it solid roller, I would suggest if you've got a full race car, or hydraulic roller, or John, I think he's got a solid roller because I think at high RPM it's turning 8,600, okay, close to 9,000. I'm not going to be specific with the camshaft, but it's enough. It's healthy enough because its heads could support it. So here you go. All right, you got a stock crank, aftermarket connecting rod, stock HO block. Very impressive. And I've shown some of the pictures of the combination. Now, make sure everything's checked. Balance it correctly. Don't get a little loose on the quality of the work. Check your clearances. All right. A lot of the breakage are blamed on the part. Well, if you got a connecting rod that broke, maybe you had the clearances way too tight or way too loose. It's slapping the crank. That could break pieces. He has paid attention to his clearances, and like we agreed, we have a lot of strong running stock engine. In fact, one of my projects here that I'm doing, I put a dome piston to get a true 11-to-1 on a GT40 combination, all right, with a healthy camshaft to make a maximum straight. Stock rod, polish the beams. There's even no ARP, this box down build. And I will do that next. Give me any questions you want. All right, so I'll try to answer. And I'm sure when I posted this video, John's going to be in it too. He could extrapolate or give a lot more other advice. And hopefully it helps everybody. Just don't dump the 302, especially when you're a newbie. Don't go in there and do a swap right off the get-go, because now you're creating more trouble. Learn the basics. Walk first before you run. And if you think you outgrew your 302, or you don't want to go to a aftermarket block, Boss 302, or Dart block, and you want to go to LFA, whatever. Okay? That's cool. Whatever floats your boat, like I said. But anyway, please subscribe, like, share, and comment. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll keep you posted with other projects that we got coming up.